I'm not sure Dr. Mackert understands the biochemistry of mercury detox in a natural and a healthy person. But there's absolutely no doubt that publications are out there time and time again that the major excretory pathway is the fecal route, not the urine. You use the urine if you want to downplay how much is going out. And to use the amount of mercury in the urine as a measure of the amount you're exposed to is just flagrantly dishonest. It means you're either incredibly dumb about the research and how mercury is excreted, or you're trying to pad your numbers to make it look like there's not much coming off of those amalgam fillings. I wouldn't even look at the amount in the fecal material and the urine, the two together, to say how much is coming off, because you have to understand the key question is how much is retained in the human body. The people that get sick from mercury exposure are those that cannot excrete it, and they are a significant percentage of the population. There's a publication, I did it in 2003. It was just repeated this last year in a medical center where they looked at the amount of mercury in the birth hair of autistic children versus control children, neurotypical children. And the bottom line is, I mean, these people will even cut hair and say, well, the amount of mercury in your hair is a measure of exposure. We have to understand that for the mercury to get into your hair, it has to leave your cells and go out in the bloodstream to be, to get to the kidney to be excreted, to be found in your hair. And what we have found, and this has been repeated now I think 4 times, is that the mercury in the birth hair of autistic children is incredibly low. And the more severe their autism is, the lower the mercury is in their birth hair, because they're not excreting it. In contrast with the controlled children, the more mercury that their mother has in the form of dental amalgams or mercury exposure in her blood, etc., the higher the mercury level is in their hair, because they're getting rid of it. It's going out in their blood and it's being cleared by their kidneys. So the mercury level in the blood and urine of a human being or the hair is not a measure of exposure. And the scientists that have used this in the past have just made a big mistake. Now, you could say that if you go someplace and you give a bunch of animals increased mercury levels, it'll show up higher in their urine, that's fine. But then there are going to be this 5 or 10% of exceptional animals that aren't going to excrete it very carefully, especially if they're sick, especially if they have low glutathione levels or have the genetics, what they call a mitochondrial dysfunction, which is part of the process where you make the ATP and everything for transporting toxic metals out of your body. They are going to be the ones that are going to suffer, and you're going to miss those people. And that's what we have. The small percentage of people that get Alzheimer's disease, I think, is due to people who do not have the ability to excrete heavy metals. They don't have high glutathione levels or high enough glutathione levels, and they survive well when they're in their 40s and 50s, but when they get into their 60s, in an area where all the science has shown that your ability to make glutathione drops off dramatically, that's when they start developing neurological problems, because they now cannot compensate for the amount of mercury that's in their body. They cannot pick it up and get it excreted effectively.